Sarah Martinez had never imagined that her weekend hobby would change her life forever. The 28-year-old mechanical engineer from Colorado spent her Saturdays at the Rocky Mountain Precision Range, a sprawling facility nestled between towering peaks where serious shooters came to test their limits. What started as stress relief from her demanding job at an aerospace company had evolved into something much more significant. The morning of September 15th began like any other weekend. Sarah arrived at the range before dawn, her custom-built rifle case in one hand and a thermos of coffee in the other. The early morning mist clung to the valley floor, creating perfect shooting conditions with minimal wind disturbance. She had been working on this particular challenge for months, gradually extending her effective range through methodical practice and equipment refinement. Her rifle was a work of art, assembled piece by piece over 2 years. The precision machined action, custom barrel, and advanced optics represented not just significant financial investment, but countless hours of research and testing. Every component had been selected for a specific purpose, creating a system capable of accuracy that most people would find impossible to believe. The target she had set for herself that day was ambitious beyond anything she had attempted before. At 3,532 meters, it pushed the absolute limits of what was considered possible for small arms fire. The mathematics alone were staggering, accounting for bullet drop, wind drift, atmospheric conditions, and the Coriolis effect created by Earth's rotation. Most professional snipers never attempted shots beyond 2,000 meters in actual operations. Sarah spent the first hour of daylight conducting her ritual preparations. She recorded wind speed and direction at multiple points along the range using small flags and electronic sensors. Temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure were logged into her smartphone app, which calculated firing solutions using ballistic modeling software originally developed for military applications. The target itself was barely visible, even through her powerful spotting scope. At that distance, a human-sized silhouette appeared smaller than a pencil eraser held at arm's length. The slightest error in calculation or execution would send the bullet sailing uselessly into the mountainside beyond. Other shooters at the range had gathered to watch, word having spread about Sarah's ambitious attempt. Among them was Marcus Webb, a retired Marine Corps scout sniper who had served 3 tours in Afghanistan. He watched through his own spotting scope, calling out wind conditions and offering encouragement, though privately he doubted anyone could make such an extraordinary shot outside of perfect laboratory conditions. The rifle's bipod legs were extended and carefully positioned on the concrete shooting bench. Sarah settled into her shooting position with practiced efficiency, her body forming a stable platform behind the weapon. Through the scope's crystal-clear optics, she could barely make out the target, a mere speck against the distant hillside. The first shot was a ranging attempt, designed to provide data for adjustment rather than achieve a hit. Sarah squeezed the trigger with steady pressure, feeling the rifle's recoil impulse through her shoulder. Seconds passed before the bullet reached its destination, the delay creating an almost surreal disconnect between cause and effect. The spotter confirmed impact several meters to the left and low, exactly what the ballistic calculations had predicted for the initial attempt. Adjustments were made to the scope's elevation and windage settings. Sarah chambered a second round, settled back into position, and began her breathing routine. In through the nose, out through the mouth, finding that natural pause between breaths where the body reaches its most stable state. The crosshairs aligned on the distant target as her finger took up slack in the trigger. The second shot flew true for most of its 3.5-second flight time, but a subtle wind shift in the final few hundred meters pushed it just wide of the mark. Another adjustment, another calculation, another round loaded into the chamber. The small crowd of observers had grown, attracted by the audacity of the attempt and the precision of Sarah's methodology. What none of them knew was that this shooting session was being observed by more than just fellow enthusiasts. High above the range, a military surveillance satellite had been tracking the session as part of routine monitoring of civilian shooting facilities. Advanced cameras and sensors recorded every aspect of Sarah's technique, from her equipment setup to her shooting position. The third shot was the one that would change everything. Sarah had found her rhythm, her breathing synchronized with the natural sway of the crosshairs. Environmental conditions had stabilized, creating a brief window of opportunity that might not reappear for hours. She pressed the trigger with the same smooth motion she had perfected over thousands of previous shots. The bullet traced a perfect arc through the thin mountain air, its trajectory calculated to account for every variable that physics demanded. 3.5 seconds after leaving the barrel, it struck the center of the distant target with a metallic clang that echoed across the valley. The small group of observers erupted in amazement, but Sarah felt only quiet satisfaction at a job well done. Marcus Webb lowered his spotting scope and stared at her with newfound respect. In 20 years of military service and a decade of civilian shooting, he had never witnessed anything comparable. The shot represented a level of skill that transcended hobby shooting and entered the realm of true marksmanship artistry. Sarah began the methodical process of cleaning and securing her equipment, unaware that her achievement had been recorded and transmitted to a secure facility hundreds of miles away. Within minutes of the shot, automated analysis systems had flagged the event for human review. By the time she was packing her rifle case, preliminary reports were already being compiled for distribution to relevant military personnel. The drive home from the range took her through winding mountain roads that offered spectacular views of the Colorado landscape. Sarah reflected on the successful shot with quiet pride, already planning modifications to her equipment and technique for future challenges. She had no way of knowing that her weekend accomplishment had triggered a sequence of events that would soon bring her to the attention of the highest levels of military command. The phone call came on Tuesday morning, while Sarah was reviewing structural analysis reports for a new aircraft wing design. The voice on the other end was crisp and professional, identifying itself as Major Jennifer Collins from the United States Army Marksmanship Unit. Sarah initially assumed it was some kind of sales call or recruitment pitch, the sort of thing that occasionally found its way to shooting enthusiasts through mailing lists and magazine subscriptions. Major Collins was calling about the weekend shooting session at Rocky Mountain Precision Range. She spoke with the careful precision of someone accustomed to conveying important information clearly and accurately. Sarah's record shot had been observed through routine monitoring systems, and certain individuals within the military community were very interested in discussing her capabilities. The conversation took on a surreal quality as Sarah realized this was no routine recruitment call. Major Collins possessed detailed knowledge of her equipment, her shooting technique, and even the environmental conditions present during the record attempt. The level of surveillance was both impressive and slightly unsettling, suggesting resources and capabilities far beyond anything Sarah had imagined. A meeting was arranged for Thursday afternoon at a discreet office building in Denver. Sarah found herself taking a personal day from work, something she rarely did, to drive into the city for what promised to be one of the most unusual conversations of her life. The address led to a nondescript building in an industrial district, the sort of place that could house anything from accounting firms to government contractors. Major Collins turned out to be a compact woman in her early 40s, with the bearing of someone accustomed to command and the direct gaze of a person who had seen combat. Her office was spartanly decorated with military commendations and photographs from various assignments around the world. She wasted no time on pleasantries, launching directly into an explanation of why Sarah's weekend accomplishment had attracted such high-level attention. The military had been tracking civilian marksmanship achievements for several years, part of a broader program to identify exceptional talent that might be useful for national security purposes. Sarah's 3,532-meter shot represented the longest confirmed hit by a civilian shooter in the program's database, accomplished under conditions that would challenge even the most experienced military snipers. Major Collins explained that modern warfare increasingly demanded capabilities that pushed the absolute limits of human and equipment performance. Long-range precision engagement was becoming more critical as conflicts evolved beyond traditional battlefield scenarios. The ability to neutralize threats at extreme distances could prevent larger conflicts and save lives on all sides. Sarah learned that her shot had been analyzed by some of the military's top ballistics experts. The calculations required to account for all variables at such extreme range demonstrated not just exceptional shooting skill, but an understanding of physics and engineering principles that impressed even seasoned professionals. Her background in aerospace engineering made her particularly valuable, combining technical knowledge with demonstrated practical ability. The conversation turned to the specifics of what military service might involve. Major Collins was careful to emphasize that no commitments were being requested at this stage, but she outlined opportunities that would allow Sarah to use her unique skills in service of her country. The Army Marksmanship Unit operated elite teams that provided precision capabilities for special operations and intelligence missions worldwide. Training would be extensive and challenging, designed to build upon Sarah's existing skills while introducing military tactics, equipment, and operational procedures. The program attracted individuals from diverse backgrounds, former Olympic shooters, police marksmen, and civilian competitors who demonstrated exceptional ability. What united them was a commitment to excellence and a willingness to serve in circumstances where failure could have strategic consequences. Sarah asked about the practical aspects of such a commitment. Major Collins explained that initial training would last 6 months, followed by periodic deployments that could range from weeks to several months, depending on mission requirements. The work would be demanding and occasionally dangerous, but it offered the opportunity to serve at the highest levels of military capability. The financial compensation was substantial, reflecting both the specialized nature of the work and the level of commitment required. More importantly, Major Collins emphasized, was the opportunity to be part of something larger than individual achievement. The skills that Sarah had developed as a weekend hobby could contribute to missions that protected American interests and potentially saved lives in volatile situations around the world. Thursday afternoon stretched into evening, as the conversation covered technical aspects of military marksmanship, operational requirements, and the personal demands of such service. Sarah found herself simultaneously excited by the possibilities and sobered by the responsibility that would come with such a position. Her weekend shooting had always been about personal challenge and achievement, but this conversation reframed those skills in terms of national service and strategic capability. Major Collins provided materials for Sarah to review, including technical specifications for military equipment that far exceeded anything available to civilian shooters. The precision rifles, advanced optics, and specialized ammunition represented the cutting edge of long-range engagement technology. For someone who appreciated the technical aspects of marksmanship, the opportunity to work with such equipment was almost irresistible. The meeting concluded with an invitation to observe a training exercise the following weekend. A team from the Army Marksmanship Unit would be conducting long-range training at a military facility in Utah, and Sarah was invited to witness capabilities that few civilians ever saw. No commitment was required, but the demonstration would provide insight into what military service in this capacity actually involved. Sarah drove home through Denver traffic, with her mind racing through possibilities and implications. The conversation had opened a door to opportunities she had never seriously considered, despite her obvious aptitude for marksmanship. The transition from weekend hobbyist to military specialist represented a fundamental change in life direction, one that would affect not just her career, but every aspect of her daily existence. That evening, she researched everything she could find about the Army Marksmanship Unit and similar military programs. The information available online was limited, but what she discovered confirmed Major Collins' descriptions of elite capabilities and demanding standards. Former members who had transitioned to civilian careers spoke in vague but respectful terms about their service, suggesting experiences that were both challenging and rewarding. The weekend demonstration in Utah would provide the next piece of the puzzle. Sarah made arrangements to take another day off work, something that was becoming a pattern as this unexpected opportunity developed. Her supervisor at the aerospace company noticed her distraction but attributed it to personal matters, unaware that her weekend hobby might be leading toward a complete career change. As she fell asleep Tuesday night, Sarah's mind was filled with images of distant targets, advanced equipment, and the possibility of using her skills in ways she had never imagined. The phone call from Major Collins had transformed her weekend accomplishment into something much larger, opening possibilities that were both exciting and intimidating in equal measure. The military facility in Utah stretched across a vast desert landscape, its perimeter marked by warning signs and security fences that emphasized the serious nature of activities conducted within. Sarah arrived early Saturday morning, her civilian credentials verified by guards who seemed accustomed to unusual visitors. Major Collins met her at the main gate, leading her through a series of checkpoints that gradually revealed the scope and sophistication of the training complex. The demonstration range extended far beyond anything Sarah had experienced in civilian shooting. Distance markers stretched to nearly 5,000 meters, with targets positioned at intervals that challenged even the most advanced military equipment. Electronic systems monitored environmental conditions in real time, providing data streams that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars to replicate in civilian facilities. Sarah was introduced to Team Alpha, a four-person unit from the Army Marksmanship Unit that represented the pinnacle of military precision shooting. The team leader, Master Sergeant David Chen, was a soft-spoken man whose calm demeanor masked years of operational experience in some of the world's most dangerous locations. His teammates included specialists in ballistics, reconnaissance, and tactical operations, each contributing unique expertise to the unit's overall capability. The morning demonstration began with equipment familiarization. Sarah examined rifles that incorporated technologies she had only read about in technical journals, with materials and manufacturing techniques that pushed the boundaries of what was possible in small arms design. The optics alone cost more than most civilian shooters invested in their entire systems, offering clarity and precision that redefined what long-range engagement could achieve. Master Sergeant Chen explained the operational context for such capabilities. Modern conflicts often required precision engagement at distances that minimized risk to civilian populations while neutralizing specific threats. The ability to engage targets accurately at extreme range could prevent the need for larger military actions that might cause collateral damage or escalate regional tensions. The team's first demonstration shot was at 4,200 meters, a distance that exceeded Sarah's record by more than half a kilometer. The shooter settled into position with mechanical precision, making calculations that accounted for variables Sarah had never considered in her civilian shooting. When the shot was fired, the bullet's flight time stretched beyond 4 seconds before striking the distant target with devastating accuracy. Sarah watched through high-powered optics as additional shots were placed at distances that redefined her understanding of what was possible. The combination of advanced equipment, sophisticated ballistic calculations, and exceptional human skill created capabilities that seemed almost supernatural. Each shot represented not just individual marksmanship, but the culmination of years of training and technological development. The afternoon session focused on operational scenarios that demonstrated how such precision capabilities might be employed in real-world situations. Targets were engaged in sequences that simulated actual mission parameters, with time constraints and environmental challenges that added layers of complexity beyond pure marksmanship. Sarah began to understand that military application involved much more than simply making accurate shots at long range. During a break in the demonstrations, Master Sergeant Chen spoke privately with Sarah about the realities of military service in this capacity. The work was demanding both physically and mentally, requiring absolute dedication to excellence and the ability to perform under pressure that could have life or death consequences. Team members formed bonds that went beyond typical professional relationships, depending on each other in ways that civilian life rarely demanded. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of General Patricia Morrison, commanding officer of the Special Operations Command's Precision Engagement Programs. Her presence at what had been described as a routine demonstration suggested that Sarah's potential recruitment had attracted attention at the highest levels of military command. The general's reputation was legendary within military circles, known for identifying and developing exceptional talent for the most demanding assignments. General Morrison observed the final demonstration shots with the practiced eye of someone who understood both the technical and operational implications of what she was witnessing. When the formal program concluded, she requested a private conversation with Sarah, walking away from the range toward a quiet area overlooking the desert landscape. The general spoke directly about strategic requirements that were driving the military's interest in exceptional civilian marksmanship talent. Emerging threats required capabilities that went beyond traditional military training, demanding individuals who could combine technical expertise with innovative thinking. Sarah's background in aerospace engineering, coupled with her demonstrated shooting ability, represented exactly the combination of skills needed for future challenges. General Morrison explained that certain situations required precision engagement capabilities that pushed the absolute limits of current technology and human performance. Intelligence operations, counterterrorism missions, and strategic deterrence all benefited from individuals who could achieve what others considered impossible. Sarah's weekend shot had demonstrated exactly the sort of capability that could prove decisive in critical situations. The conversation turned to immediate opportunities that would allow Sarah to contribute while maintaining connections to her civilian career. Initial assignments would focus on training and capability development, providing time to adjust to military requirements while building operational experience. The program was designed to attract exceptional individuals without forcing them to abandon everything they had built in civilian life. As the day concluded, Sarah found herself at a crossroads that would define the next phase of her life. The demonstration had revealed capabilities and opportunities that exceeded anything she had imagined during her weekend shooting sessions. The chance to serve at such an elite level was both exciting and sobering, representing a commitment that would challenge every aspect of her abilities. General Morrison made her position clear as they concluded their conversation. The military needed individuals like Sarah, people who brought unique combinations of technical knowledge and demonstrated skill to challenges that conventional training could not address. Her weekend shot had proven capabilities that were immediately relevant to national security requirements, and the general was prepared to offer opportunities that would put those skills to meaningful use. The drive back to Colorado gave Sarah time to process everything she had experienced and learned over the past week. The progression from weekend hobbyist to potential military specialist had happened with stunning speed, opening possibilities that would have seemed impossible just days earlier. The decision she faced involved more than career change. It represented a fundamental shift in how she would contribute to something larger than individual achievement. By the time she reached home, Sarah had made her choice. The combination of technical challenge, meaningful service, and the opportunity to work at the absolute cutting edge of her field proved irresistible. Monday morning brought a phone call to Major Collins, accepting the invitation to join the Army Marksmanship Unit and beginning a new chapter that would transform her weekend hobby into professional service at the highest levels of military capability. 3 months later, Sarah completed her initial training phase and received her first assignment, working with technologies and facing challenges that fulfilled every expectation raised during that first demonstration in Utah. Her weekend shot had indeed changed everything, opening a door to service that would test her skills in ways she never could have anticipated while setting up targets at the Rocky Mountain Precision Range.